Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. Okay, February. Roxy Creations, Sarah and Rachel have now given us the next prompts for our piece for February, which is neutral and fancy flowers. So I thought I'd turn on the camera and show you the process I go through to piecing together my background, and we'll see where it goes from there. Some of the elements that I sort of group together before I start one of these panels is some floral pieces, some neutral pieces. Even if the prompt wasn't neutral, I'd still have something that was fairly plain, because these are opportunities that you can embroider on. So they're sort of my go-to pieces for my slow stitch. I then look for fabrics that are textured. So I found a piece of, I'm not 100% sure what this is. It's like Hessian, but a really wide weave. The other two pieces are just some vintage hemps and linens that I got from a pack from Rachel in Italy, from Roxy Creations. She has some fantastic fabric packs that are just really good ways of getting you started with some unique fabrics that you may not be able to find where you're from. And because slow stitching, you only need, little pieces of things, they'll last you forever. The next elements that I tend to go towards is some script. Now, I don't have a printer that prints on fabric. It doesn't like it, it just chews it up. So I tend to, when I'm in quilt shops, I tend to look for anything that has text on it for my stash. Now this one was a bit of a find. It's a Tim Holtz print. Now I've got the main piece of fabric here. Whenever I buy fabric, I usually get just 30 centimeters of fabric. It tends to be enough. This one was absolutely fantastic when I spotted it. It's lots of artwork from old advertising, and Tim Holtz has pieced it together. There's lots of different colors, so for future pieces, it's I think just a fantastic piece to have in your stash. Now it was called Photo Card, Tim Holtz Photo Card. So if you did want to go hunting for it, that's the piece that I've taken this little postcard from. Now he's got some other pieces too in his range that have a lot of text. I did grab this one out. It's just got ledgers and letters and bits and pieces all over it. So when I grabbed that out, I found this little corner. It was down near the selvage, and it's just a tiny little bit of text printed onto fabric. So if you have a printer that does not like printing onto fabric, mine just chews it up. It just, gets really, really angry at me. So buying a piece of fabric that has text on it is a really, really good way of getting you started with some extra elements. The other little printed piece that I had left over from another project was this printed music on fabric. Even when I scrapbook, I put a lot of music in my junk journals. So I'm a bit of a fan of music printed onto fabric or paper, and that's the piece there that I have used for the music. Okay, so I've got my text pictures, I've got my planes, I've got some texture. That little guy was just kicking around and he sort of matches the colours, so I threw him in. As you can see, I've gone with beige for my neutral base. Now, I've also grabbed some floral pieces. This piece I've been chopping away at for quite some time. I picked it up at an op shop. It was a huge table runner, and I've used it to cover journals. I've used it to embroider. I'll just show you the shot of it. So that was folded under as the edge of the runner, and this appeared at the top here, which I've chopped it off thinking I might be able to use it in my piece. And it was about 1.5 meters long. It was fantastic, and it's got that real what's the word? The upholstery fabric feel. So it's quite textured, fantastic piece. So it's got all sorts of colors through the center, from the blues to the ecrues. And I spotted in this little scrap, because I've just made a series of journals using this cover. They were Alice in Wonderland, and this just looked like a really old book you'd think that Alice would have in her pocket. So yeah, it came up beautifully. This flower was here. So I fussy cut it out because it's very neutral. I nearly did this one, and I might yet, but it sort of went into slightly different sorts of tones that I sort of want to keep it more ecru. That was getting a little bit too mustard. Having said that, I do have those pieces, so it sort of matches too. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes. So that's the piece I used to get a couple elements of floral plus a fussy cut piece. Now, I've mentioned in other videos, I'm a big fan of these old doilies. They're often still in there. Sorry, it's not a doily, it's a handkerchief. You see them at the op shop still in the packaging that, I don't know, when I was a little girl, grandma or an aunt would often give me a packet of handkerchiefs. And they'd be in a lovely little box with a clear acetane lid. And you get 3 or 4 little handkerchiefs to as a gift. And you often see them in the op shops still in their packaging, which is just a bonus. If not, and you see them loose, grab them. They're often very cheap, and they have fantastic little lace edges. Just beautiful. As you can see, I've already been nibbling away at this doily. So I gotta stop saying doily. It's a handkerchief. I'm so used to using doilies. This little hanky. I've chopped a piece out, just a corner. So I'll want to start thinking about lace. This will be probably the first piece of lace that goes into it, but I will be adding other laces. So to get the base done and to have a little bit of lace appearing then is not a bad idea, so that when you add more lace, you're starting to build up layers. So they are the fabrics. Oh, I do have this fabric stamp. It was on a piece of fabric that I think was a pillow slip, and it had lots of postcards, and in amongst there was this stamp. So I've just cut out that stamp. It's got a thistle on it by the looks of it, so a Scottish thistle, and it's a penny. So I've got a little stamp as well. It was just the perfect colours sort of to match our work. Okay, so let's have a play and see what we can come up with to create our base. So we'll place everything out, then I'll pin it, and then start the stitching down process, just to sort of make everything stay where you want it, because you don't want your pins in your way when you're doing slow stitch, because you'll end up just pricking yourself with some injuries. Okay, let's have a look. I tend to like a corner with something lacy. Might pop that up there. My thoughts with these flowers is that I will have a branch coming across, and then the flowers on the branch as this, it's like a tree is planted over here, and there's just this branch that comes across the page. So I'm thinking my design will go this way, so I might step my fabrics a little bit that way, so it'll help create a bit of movement in my fabrics. So as my branch comes up from corner to corner, I could even do the piece this way, but I think I'm gonna keep it with the height, because from this point, the thickest part of my branch, I can sort of come across here, I can head up to that point, and then I can do more of a straight branch up here. But we'll get to that. I'm just not sure. I've got a rough idea in my head, but yeah, we'll get to that. So I'd sort of like to lay down some of my bigger pieces first. I think I'll pop that there. This is a very big weave, so it's quite fraying, but that's all right. Slow stitch will capture all that. Let's put some text in next. Okay, so I might just move that up a bit. Being that my base piece is being covered, I sort of don't mind if my fabrics come off a little bit, because I know this is smaller than my page in my journal. So I do have a bit of wriggle room to, yeah, move some pieces around and have them sort of hanging off. Let's get some plainer pieces into the work, just so that I know I've got little air pockets of nothing to pop feature flowers. I really like this piece. That's got huge potential to embroider there. Whether I will need to, being that I'm embroidering a scene over the top of the background, I'm not sure yet. Let's just see. That's looking good. I like that corner. Where am I going to put this flower? It's sort of, I think it sort of needs to be more up in this sort of zone, I think, due to that cut edge. Okay, let's get this guy. It's too close to there, so we'll go to the opposite corner. Might tuck it under that little doily. Oh, it's not a doily, it's a handkerchief. I've been using doilies all day, so I think that's why I've got doilies on the brain. I'm sort of just lifting pieces, tucking under pieces. I can see the fringing of my background fabric, the calico at the top there. I'm gonna leave that so that it's showing. It just creates a little bit of texture at the top. Oh, where are we gonna put the postcard? Oh, I'm thinking it might go here. Let's have this flower coming over it so it's sort of tucked in there. Okay, what else? What other goodies have we got? Oh, I love this fabric. Okay, it's just beautiful. It's got quite a coarse weave. It might be a nightmare to embroider, but it certainly feels beautiful. What are we thinking? I'm thinking probably there for that piece. When I go to tack it all down, you know, I'll fiddle again with it, but so far I'm sort of liking, I've got this layered, this stepping going up here, so I think it'll help draw the eye up there, and a bit of a sort of a plain area through here for embroidery. These flowers probably will compete with what I'm thinking of doing, so the fact that they're behind everything and tucked back, I think will work really well. Okay, what have we got left? Okay, Osnaburg. This is beautiful to embroider. It's not a loose weave, but it's certainly an open weave, and it has like little seeds through the fabric. Whenever I see this in quilt shops, I usually buy a metre of it, because not only do I embroider on it, I use it for scrapbooking, and it just gives you another texture compared to calico or homespun. So I might actually try, let's get it in behind here, because I have a gap. So let's tuck it in there. Let's bring that up a little bit. Okay, I'm liking that. It's subtle, it's very similar, but I think it'll work. Because we're doing neutrals, we've sort of got a little more leeway with trying not to get too many variations in the colours. I gotta bring that down a bit so that I can see the calico and the homespun. Yep, I'm liking that. Okay, what have we got left? A little piece of mustard. Oh, the stamp. Where are we going to put the stamp? I just don't know if I want to put too much up there, because it'll probably be floral. I might pop the stamp down here so that all of our script is sorted together and floral. That's sort of a whole corner of embroidery alone up there. So I'm sort of really liking how that's coming together. Just move that in a bit. like I said before, once I start stitching, I'll fiddle around with making sure that my edges don't all line up and there's a bit of a break for the eye to see the homespun that's underneath, which I'm not seeing a lot of, so I might just pull that down a little bit because it's such a beautiful fabric. It's a shame to have it hidden. Let's put the mustard in there, then the stamp, and the stamp will sort of connect those three pieces together. Not that there's any rules with slow stitch. That's the beautiful thing about this. It's just what you like, what your eye likes. And I'll create a piece like this, just placing it out, and then I'll walk away and just let it sit there. And it might be a day, glance back at it. And if it just gives me a warm feeling, that's how I judge things, I keep going. If it doesn't, and I'm just not happy with it, yeah, keep fiddling with it. There's no rush. That's why I love slow stitch. There's no rush. Okay, I'm liking that so far. We've got this movement through the center here with the layers. I hope you can see that. Sort of the stepping stone, as if you were walking along a path. Oh, I haven't used my music. Let's head to the music. So we'll keep that going, and stripe. What am I going to do with you? Stripes are great to break the eye up. So you can put, you know, random little pieces, or, you know, a long piece. A sort of feeling like it might go in a couple spots. Like I could, yeah, I'm going to cut that there and just pop that there. And this one, what will we do? Could do that. I'm sort of covering up my flower there, and if I embroider that, I think I would want to see it. Yeah, I'm sort of liking that. That sort of feels a little balanced. I've then got this stripe at the back. So far, so good. I do have some snippets of lace to one side here. That will be the next layers that I will put on my pieces. So, for example, this is just a tiny little bit that is kicking around my desk. They are good to sort of either tuck in under a piece or lay on top, just to start building up some additional texture. I tend to like framing out areas, like the handkerchief is pretty much covered everywhere, but not here. So I'm thinking I might put that lace there, and that just creates a corner and just finishes it. So that's what I'll do next, once I get everything tacked down. And I tend to, when I tack things down, I do a little tiny stitch, and then underneath I will jump across and come up and do another little stitch, jump across and do another little stitch. And that way I leave the corners of everything actually still a little loose, unless it's something that's going to fray. While I'm there, I might as well secure the edge with a heap of little stitches, just to stop, like I would with this piece. And even this piece, I think the more I handle it, they will just disintegrate. So I will come through and actually around the edge of all of those really stitch them down. But a piece like this, I'll just stay away from that edge about 3 mil. That way, if I decide to tuck in some lace, I can come through and just lift that up just ever so slightly, tuck it in, and then stitch that little piece down. So like that there is another edge that I would probably do something. So I've got some pieces here that might, so I'll either lay it on top because I'll want that line of the lace to be shown, or I will just lift that up, tuck it underneath, so that the lace looks like it's actually behind everything. I actually like that, so I think that will stay. This piece here has potential of just, you know, just a little bit. I'm liking that, just a hint of it. Yeah, I'm gonna cut that like that. We're getting a little step, so maybe as my branch comes up, I can throw a flower down this way because I've created this little platform here. What else have we got? This lace here. Don't know. Maybe I'm going to cut it there. I was so pleased when they said neutral because I'm a bit of a fan of neutral fabrics because there's just so many textures that you can find in natural linens and hemps and homespun. So it was like this one just literally fell out of every box of fabric I've got. So yeah, I'm liking that. The more, just keep adding. If you have some bits that are kicking around that you're sick of looking at and they fit, just tuck them in somewhere. It will all come together and work. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm just going to pin everything just so that it doesn't wriggle around too much. I'm thinking, see this print here has this touch of burgundy. I'm going to just attempt to cover it, I think, because it's sort of distracting my eye. That one there, I'll have to come up with a way of covering that at a later date, maybe with a flower. But I'm just not liking how that sort of is completely different from the color scheme. It does work, and if I was to work burgundy into this piece or a dark red, I would leave it there, and then all my flowers would be those tones, similar to what I did with the rabbit. He started out very gold and very neutral, just like this, and then he morphed into his floral treatment around him was the burgundies and the pinks and things like that. So that is a possibility to leave that in the shot, in the work, if you were going to do some burgundy through there. But I'm thinking that being that I'm doing a branch, I'm thinking I will need lots of brown tones and things like that. I want to make the piece look like, how do I explain this? If you were looking at the tree and you just saw thousands of flowers and blossoms all over a tree, you sort of your eye doesn't pick up that the branch is here and then there's another one, another one, another one, as the tree is just full. I want this background to be like additional flowers on a tree that are behind the one that you're focused on. It's like when you take a photo with your camera, and the cameras these days will zoom in on the close-up, the foreground, and the rest just fades away. So what I'm thinking with this piece is I want this background to fade away so that my branch becomes quite prominent in the view. So that's the theory anyway. So let's see how we go. You might, I might come back after stitching and thinking and looking at this over the next few days and head in a completely different direction. But I try and have a bit of a concept to, if anything, to slow my mind down a bit and say, right, these are the parameters. You must create your piece within this, this concept. Otherwise, you will just get lost. You'll head in different directions and you'll find that, there we go, that's all pinned down. So that's good. Oh, nope, the stamp. Let's get that pinned in. So now you can move to a comfy chair and stitch away or throw it in a bag. And if you're waiting to pick up the kids from school, you've got some slow stitch to pull out and just do a little bit of stitching. So I'm thinking that is pretty good. I'm happy with that. I'll bring it up to the camera so you can see the different layers. Okay, everything is pinned, so tacking is the next stage. So just a few things that I grabbed out that I might use. Not 100% sure, but it'll give you a bit of an idea where I'm heading. I've got this twine, and I'm thinking this is going to be the branch, and I'll couch it down. So I'll start here, as I mentioned before, and using strands of this create my branch. So I think that'll match in beautifully. Then I found this piece of, what do you call it, floral trim. And it's like a netting that has had these little chocolate flowers and beige flowers, rosettes attached to it. And I think it's really pretty. And I think it looks really good. And I think it's going to create a similar tone, but a little bit darker. I'm going to try and get heavier with my branch in its colors. So I'll probably cut a couple off of the piece like so to separate them. I'll leave the tulle on the back, and then I'll use them as the start of my flowers. Now, what else did I grab out? Oh, I did a video the other day about some sequins that I have received. Now, I'm thinking that I will work in with these flowers, these sequins. So they're like a glittery floral shape. So they'll go in as well. And then I also got some ovals that to me look like leaves. So I'm thinking, oops, this one's broken. I'll pop some of them in as well. So we've got some leaves, we've got some flowers. What else did I grab out of my, I just grabbed some general beads as well. I've gone for some champagne beads, some gold squares, and some pearls. I have different sizes in pearls and slightly different tones. So if we find that these colors sort of don't match, but I think they will, I'm thinking I'll embroider beads throughout the flowers. What else did I grab? Oh, I even grabbed out of my timber supply some little birds, because I thought a branch with some birds in it might work. So I think these are Kaiser Craft little birds, I believe is where I got them. So they've got potential. And I also found a little bird in a bird cage. So maybe I can have, well, that would look good there because we've got this space of air, a bird cage hanging, and the branch catches that, heads on its way, and then some floral treatments go in around it. But we'll see. I think we have something coming together here. So I'll just pop all those elements to one side. They are way down the track. First of all, we've got to get our background secure and everything stitched down. So I might leave the video there. I think that's pretty much a good start to February, which was neutral and fancy flowers. So we'll leave it at that, and I'll see you all soon. And I guess next time this video comes on in a few seconds, you'll see a little bit more progress, maybe even just the branch down. We'll see. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to check back in and show you the progress I've made with stitching down the backgrounds. Now, a day has gone by, so I spent Friday night embroidering down all of the different elements so that they are all attached and ready to go for the next stage. I used an invisible stitch just to scoot across everywhere to hold everything down. Anything that was fraying, potential of fraying, I went around the edge with just some cotton to secure that edge. It was in quite a few places because some of my pieces are quite textured, so they're going to fray really easily. So just using my thread, I went around and whip stitched the edge or overcast the edges. I did it on the flower. Is another spot. I think that would fray pretty easily. So I'll just bring it up, because then I went through and started to embroider the back of the scene with lots of little stitches, everything from just camphor stitch through to some seed stitch here. There's some camphor stitch, some more, I've put a little edge of French knots through here, just around that corner. And then as you sort of look down the piece, you'll notice that I've also couched into position a branch of a tree. So that's where I'm at. The tree, what I used was just some twine. I actually had pieces that were only this big, and I think they were part of a tassel that unraveled. So I just kept them because I'm thinking that they might come in handy one day, and today is the day. So they are my tree. So all I did was lay down a section on the fabric. I might actually stitch some now just to show you what I did, because I'm sort of at the stage where I need some little branches to sort of soften the background. So I'll just grab a needle and thread, and I'll just show you what I did with the pieces. So I can thread this needle. Okay. Sorry if my hands aren't in the shot. Okay, now I'm going to actually cut that piece there, but before I do, I just want to anchor it down. And I've just used a pin. Oop, lost my thread. Where's my thread? Oh, goodness me. It's a good start. Okay, let's try that again. So I'm just going to put a couple stitches at the end where I plan to cut the branch. And I do stitch into the thread. I know couching is over the thread, technically, but because this is twine, it can unravel really easily. So I put the odd stitch halfway through the twine. You can see that. I just come up in the twine and then just over the edge of it. It'll just help secure it into position. Now, being a tree, you can sort of have a little bit of freedom of where you move the branch. It doesn't have to be straight. Trees aren't straight. So doing nature is very forgiving. Okay, so now coming down to where this little piece is going to meet one of the branches. So just like I did in the beginning, a few extra little stitches just to secure it. And at any time as you're working your piece, if you decide to do a branch using this method and you start to notice a little spot where your twine might be lifting or just a little bit loose, just pop a couple stitches in. Okay, so let's just knot that off. A couple little slip stitches there in the back. Whoops. Okay, my knot is done. All right, I'll just snip that off. As you can see on the back, you can spot where I've been stitching with all the seed stitch, the little embroidery details. I try to stay very neutral. I used a just a cotton coloured thread, and then I used a pearl embroidery thread, which I'll show you in a minute. It's one of my favourite colours. It's a real golden colour. Okay, there's the little sprig. I'm not sure if I'll add any more. I might put another one off this up the top here. I sort of just had the one and it looked very static. Sort of didn't look like it was anything in particular. So I decided to have a little branch coming in from the top. So that started to convince me then that it was actually part of a tree and I was sort of looking into the tree. So that's where I'm at with the piece. I'll just show you the cotton I used. This is it here. It's part of crocheting cotton, the world of crocheting. It's a number 5. It's quite thick. They go down in size, and a 12 is the finest, but this one's a 5. I just love 5s because they're just that little bit thicker, and pearl cotton has that little luster about it, and it's just like a wheat color. I think the number is 735. So that's the neutral color I chose. I then had, I'd say this is a 12. It is so fine. This was just in a random bag of threads in a op shop grab that there's a tag inside. What's it say? It's in German, I can't read it. Color is 609, but I believe this would be quite old. It was just this tiny little bit, and I've been using, so there's just meters here. So that was another one I chose. I had also a linen cotton, which I don't think I have here with me. No, I don't. I purchased it from someone at a craft show, and I hadn't used it, so I had a little play with the linen thread. It was quite difficult to actually pull through the fabric, and I used it up here to do some rows in this stripe. So it was quite firm, and I sort of did that first, so my fingers became a little bit tender. And then, of course, then I started on the seed stitch, so you can imagine by the time I finished all those seed stitches, my fingers were really tender, so I had to find my thimble, but it was nearly too late because I'd already done the damage, so to speak. So that's where I'm at with my piece. I've added a little bit of lace. I don't think I'll add any more lace. I think, I'm not sure if you saw that piece go in the last video, but when I was stitching, I did add some more around the script. It sort of was a bit of a corner, and it highlighted the fact that there was script there. It's like that piece is now popped out from the background. So lace is a really good way of adding some additional texture to make it interesting. I still haven't decided if I will embroider the flower or this one down here. So who knows? My handkerchief is tucked in up the top, my different layers of the hessian, and then the music. So really happy with the way it's coming along. So my next thing is to think about the flowers. So my next video, this will be part A, there'll be part B, will be all about the flowers. And I'm still pretty positive I'm going to utilize these in some way as my base of my flower, and then go from there. So I'll have a play with that and come back to you on the next video to show you how it finished up. So embellishing is the next step to the process. Thank you everyone. Happy stitching. Bye. Good morning everyone. Welcome back. Today's video is about embellishing the piece. So I've just started placing around some of the elements. I showed you in the first video some of the pieces that I was gathering together for the project. So this is the best bit. We get to have a little play with some of these pieces and decide if it's actually going to work. So I'll just go through my theory on all of this. I had this piece of trim. So what I've done is just separated the little roses, and I'm going to use those as my flower. So I've sort of been looking at this branch and trying to work out where a cluster of flowers would grow. So I've placed, I haven't stitched anything down yet. It's just a case of fiddling at the moment. So I've sort of created an area up here that will be a definite feature here of floral, something here slightly smaller cluster compared to what this one will be, and then a little hint of it up here. So as the branch grows out, the newer growth would be at the top with just a little bit less embellishment, for want of a better word. So down here, I will probably do another one. Let me just lift my piece and move it forward down that bottom there. So I'll just focus the camera in this top section for now, because like I said, nothing is actually stitched down yet. I'm just fiddling around, and I'll place this out, then I'll probably leave it a day or so and just keep looking at it, going away, looking at it. The best bit of stitching for me is probably not so much the stitching, it's the creating. So it's a case of thinking about it, laying in bed thinking about it, and then having another look, and then getting something else. And so if anything, I like to take my time with this side of things, just so that I enjoy that process. If that sounds crazy, that's just my feelings when I do a piece. Okay, so I've separated a few, as I said, and placed them. I also have added some texture in behind the clusters. These are the little medallions that you'd get out of a crochet doily. There would have been a bigger one here and here and here and here, and this is the little piece that would have connected the doilies together. Not the doilies, the motifs within the doily. So I always save those. They're just lovely little pieces to work with. So what I'm going to do with each cluster is include one of those as well, and excuse me, and also want to use one of these sequins. I did a video earlier in the week that reviewed a order of sequins that I received from a company in Sydney called Sequin Bazaar. So these were part of that order, as well as these little leaves. So I'm hoping to use them in there, and I'm sort of liking the idea that they're glossy and metal, shiny, because everything's so muted. And I'm thinking that these little touches will lift the piece and just add that little bit of interest. So I'm just going to tuck a few little flowers around the place, just as a little highlight piece with each of the little rosettes. Then we've got these little leaves. So they're actually got a bit of a shape about them so that they're curved. So I'm thinking they'll go down or up. If they go up, they tend to reflect more light, but I think that would be difficult to stitch because I'd have the stitch hanging out in the air. So I think they have to go down. Now they could either be included with the flowers, or I'm thinking I'm going to use them randomly on the stem of the branch, just to bring a little bit of sparkle throughout the piece. So let's just pop a few of those around like that. Okay, gee, I'm liking that. It's amazing when you put a little bit of sparkle into something that's so matte and flat, what that does. It sort of starts bringing light into your piece. Okay. All right, so that's it so far. We've got a few little random leaves, a few little flowers, little crocheted elements. The other thing I'll do as I stitch things down is I've got some eyelash yarn here. It's just a nice neutral colour. I use a lot of this in my embroidery. Get rid of this little knot. And what I'll do is under each rosette, I'll just cut a little piece. It's no longer than the length of my finger, not quite, maybe a little finger. I'm just going to put it into a little circle, just holding it. And then as I stitch down each rose, I'm going to put that underneath, like so. And that will just create some fibres and textures in amongst my little flowers. Just helps add a little detail. So cut a little piece, just pop it into a rough circle in your fingers, lift up the flower, and then pop it down. Okay, so now it looks like the little flowers have these little fibers coming out from underneath them. So it starts to get really textured and luscious and beautiful. Now, once that's all secured, I'm then going to come back and add some pearls and some beads. So I've chosen some basic cream pearls, and I've chosen a champagne bead. Looks like a dirty colour on the screen there, but it's not. It's quite a fresh champagne. Maybe once it's out of the pack and sitting on a cream surface, it'll really lighten up a little. So that's what I'm thinking for beads. So I sort of start from the big elements down to the smallest. So flowers first, sequins, then any crocheted elements, then I'll go into the beads. I do have these little rectangles as well, but I'm just not 100% sure if they will work. They're sort of, I don't know, sometimes I put them in pieces and they look amazing, and other times I use them and they look very industrial, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure about those guys. We'll see if they turn up. Now, where my needle is, I'll just move that there. Where my needle is, that I've left free because I'm still thinking about adding onto that branch a little bird cage. But we'll see how we go, just as a little feature in the piece. And I do have some little timber birds, which I believe are from a pack I got from Kaisercraft. Just some little timber elements. So I might stitch in some little birds. I'm just not sure. We'll see how the piece comes along. Could have a little bird up in the tree. I do have a few other cages, so I'll have a look through those in the next video. We'll have a look at those elements and see if they're needed or not. You just don't know until your piece evolves. You can have ideas and then you head in completely different directions. I do have these metal butterflies as well, and I did grab them out, but whether they're right, they sort of, I don't know, don't feel right. Yeah, I'm just not sure about those. But anyway, we'll see. Decisions. We'll see how it progresses, and we'll leave the video at that, and I will be back with my progress. We'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.